So welcome to everyone here for tonight's Club Administrators webinar. We're going to kick off and just touch on, there's 4 core topics that we're going to be discussing here this evening. So I'll just run through those briefly. The first of which is data capture, which is where some of the the recent system changes have occurred. So I'll be touching on data capture, its benefits, and what you as an administrator might need to be doing for us. Talking about email campaigns, this is more of a general refresher and a reminder that this is a really great way to utilise BowlsLink and to speak to your members and connect with our sport, flatten that communication structure. Now we're talking about member transfers. This is an area of some difficulty. I've made some representations to the BowlsLink developers about how I'd like to see the member transfer system, which I'm sure Alex is sick of me droning on about. But the current system is serviceable, and it's just, I suppose, just a general reminder. As I say, we've had over 100 registrations for this meeting, so there should be 100 administrators walking away with a better knowledge of what the process is and what to do. And the final thing I'm going to be touching on this evening is memberships. So for some of us, our membership year has just rolled over. There's quite a few clubs in New South Wales that have a 31st of March end of financial year. Most clubs in New South Wales have a June 30 financial year end. And for those of us who are coming up to that, and now is the time to start thinking and planning about what automations and what functionality we're going to be using within the BowlsLink system. So there is plenty of ways that we can leverage BowlsLink, online payments, and the like to our advantage, and it's up to you as administrators how far your club wants to go with that. Just a reminder of the support and resources that are available to you. Nick Hind is my name. My role is the Head of Club Services with Bowls New South Wales. I've been in this role for about 18 months now. Prior to that, I was with Bowls ACT as the CEO, and before that I worked with Bowls Australia as a club support manager and a regional bowls manager before that. My background was in the club industry. I came from working in clubs and hotels, in hospitality. I'd spent some time working in the ski fields, which is why I'm in Jindabyne, and I started my career, my working career in aged care. So a lot of these things have sort of aligned into this role that I'm doing now. And one of the key things that I'm doing as part of this role as Head of Club Services is BowlsLink support. So hosting these webinars for you as administrators, for members, and for our region delegates. With Bowls Australia, Aaron Delaport is the BowlsLink manager. He can't join us tonight, he's on the plane back to Western Australia, but we're fortunate enough to have Alex with us, who's the BowlsLink coordinator. Also, don't forget, Bowls Australia have 2 fantastic club support managers in New South Wales, being Brett Hughes, who I'm sure many of you will know, who's been with Bowls Australia for a long time, and Samantha Curtis, who is a newer club support manager. She's based on the Northern Rivers and is doing some fantastic work up there, and for all the clubs that she services across the state. So get those contact details down, get in touch with them. If we can't help you, we know who can, and we'll help you with anything that you need to know, whether it's BowlsLink or any programs you might like to run, grant support, anything to support your club and support our game. Just a reminder to everybody as well before we go on, I have disabled deliberately everybody's camera and microphone, so if you have any questions, do pop those in the chat. Alex will be monitoring that, and we'll get onto those as we go throughout the evening. So the first thing I want to touch on tonight is data capture, and with that, mandatory data capture with yesterday's update has been implemented in line with the Australian Sports Commission's Play Well Participation Data Charter. There's some reasons on there. The Charter aims to improve consistency, quality and security of participation data across the sport, and improving how that information is collected and managed. So Bowls Australia and the states and territorial authorities will be better positioned to support clubs, participants, and the long-term growth of the sport. So there's some key benefits on there: improved database security. We can have better communications from you as a club administrator or a region, our state, Bowls Australia. Smoother and easier event registrations. I think we've all probably been in a situation where we've had to try to contact somebody prior to an event and have found that really difficult because we don't have any contact details for them, and then they turn up and they get cranky that we haven't contacted them. And we've got greater opportunities for automation, which I'll touch on tonight. There's also benefits in terms of recruitment and retention strategies, strengthening relationship with sponsors and potential funding partners. There's better compliance. Where there's a lot that we can do with improved membership data, and for those members, they will get better served with a modern, secure platform that protects their information. So these are some of the reasons why. And on this next slide, here's what's new. So I'm going to jump into BowlsLink in a moment to demonstrate this, but basically what is new is that the email, the fields for email, mobile, date of birth and address are now mandatory when adding new members or updating members' details. This was previously a optional field. Now for email and mobile, that's obvious. We know that we want to be able to communicate with all of our members. Date of birth, we need this for eligibility, and address is very important. So we know who our members are, where they're coming from, and what areas are providing and serving our sport. It's also really good for, in terms of grant funding and having that information for tourism partners, and we're talking about at a region and a state level, but even locally, if you can host a tournament and you know where all your participants are coming from, if they're travelling from some time away, you can sell that information to potential sponsors and say, hey, look, we've got a lot of travelling people, to the motel or the hotel across the road. Hey, would you like to sponsor our tournament? Here's how many people are travelling from, interstate or from 2 hours away, or whatever it might be. Now, what that means is that existing members of the system who don't have email addresses, don't have mobile phone numbers, they're considered to be passive users. They're not likely to be accessing their profile. They're not likely to be getting online and using BowlsLink. They're not likely to be downloading the mobile app, the BowlsLink app, which I'll be demonstrating very briefly throughout this session. Those passive users, you don't need to update any of their information. They can stay in the system as they are, and we know that there are some people who might still be coming into the sport. There's not many, but there might still be 1 or 2 who come into the sport where they don't have an email address and they don't have, pardon me, a mobile phone. These are very rare. These are fringe cases, and the consideration is that this is not an unreasonable requirement for new members of the sport. For existing members of the sport, sure, we can get away with it, so there's no worries there. For anybody who has desire to be an active user, and that's being an active user meaning that they're managing their own information, they're entering competitions on their own, they're using the BowlsLink app, they will need all data fields completed. That's not unreasonable either. We believe that that the system provides plenty of value for people who are willing to provide their data, so we can know that we're connecting with them and they know that they're connecting with us, and they can access all of the functionality of the BowlsLink system. Now, for you as club administrators, you're encouraged to update your members' data wherever possible, but further than that, I'm going to encourage everybody to promote the BowlsLink app to their members to capture first-party data. So I'm just going to quickly demonstrate the BowlsLink app, which is here on my phone. There's my beautiful dog, and this is the BowlsLink app. So if you haven't downloaded this app yet, head to your app store, head to Google Play or the Apple App Store. You log into the BowlsLink app with the same details that we have for our normal profile. So what we see here is it says, welcome back, Nick Hind. There's some tiles at the top which are Bowls Australia resources, Bowls Premier League. We can see our upcoming matches in Pennant. So I'm part of the Jindabyne Grade 4 side. We're playing against Merimbula Grade 3 on the 12th of April. It's got lots of fantastic reasons that we should be involved with this. As I scroll down, we've got latest news, which comes straight from the Bowls New South Wales news page. And there's a lot to be to be desired. Members can enter competitions directly, and you can do that through the app, through my state, my club, my region, or Bowls Australia events. We've got some pills there for those. So if you're a club administrator, now's a great time to getting your club championships on BowlsLink. But again, that's not what we're discussing tonight. In the account section at the bottom here, this is where members can update their personal details. So we can see here that I identify as a man or a male. My address is 9 Mitchell Circuit, Jindabyne, New South Wales 2627. Please all send me a Christmas card. But if I was to move, I can come in and update that in the BowlsLink app. If I need to update my personal details, I want to be Nicky Hind, you can do that as well. So, but what we're doing with this is that we're looking to empower the members to update their own details, so you as administrators don't need to do so. Alex, is there anything that you'd like me to touch on that I've missed with the app and just members updating their own details?
No, sorry, Nick. I was just going through the chat just to answer a query. But no, the app itself, from what you've outlined just briefly, it's all good to go. Just having a quick look there. Yeah, there were some app updates yesterday, but that shouldn't have affected what the personal details that can be updated. I'm just having a quick look there. Yes, from what you've covered there, Nick, it's all good to go. Do apologise.
No, that's okay. So thank you. I'll put you on the spot. So very briefly, that is the BowlsLink app. It's got a lot of functionality, and we're encouraging you as administrators to push that to your members. I'm going to close that now, and we'll go. And now we're going to have a look at this this data capture in BowlsLink, but also how it can be done in other ways. So on the Bowls New South Wales website, there is the BowlsLink support page. Members who don't know what their profile information is can go to this individual member profiles tab here, and we've got a form here for them to update their own details. So if they've never logged in before, they can click here, update their own details. That comes through to me, and then I'll send them an email with instructions how to log in if they've never done so for the first time, how to access the app. For you as a club administrator, if you go around after social bowls, and I've got my Jindabyne members here, and we can see that Paul Bradshaw has an email address and a mobile phone number. Jeffrey Brown has, I've got most of our members here have got email addresses and phone numbers. Chris does not. He's somebody who I might ask and say, hey mate, what's your email address? What's your telephone number? You can go in, and if you click on edit member, you can update those members' details. You can see here there's a little star. So if we put in chrisd@yahoo.com, oh, my keyboard's doing that again, is it? And clicked update, it would say, no, you can't, because we need a mobile phone number as well. So what this is doing is now requiring our administrators to be putting in all of the information, and that means an email address and mobile phone number for contact details to update any members' information. So I'll cancel out of that. The other compulsory fields now include occupation, and I'll go into my own personal profile here, and address. So what we're seeing here is there's now, when you're updating members' address fields, there's now a field where it will start looking for likely results. So I used to live, when I was very young, at 17 Watts Road in Ryde, and it's found it. So that auto fills the address. and it auto-fills the postcode, the suburb, everything. So what that does is it can do everything correctly. It means that there's fewer errors in data capture. My correct address, once again, for those who are sending me Christmas cards, is 9 Mitchell Circuit, and it will find 9 Mitchell Circuit, Jindabyne, New South Wales 2627. My emergency contact, I can update that, doesn't need to be me. And the other compulsory field that I haven't mentioned, which is new, is an occupation field. And this is a drop down from what is a fairly general, this is a government supplied list of sort of generic professions. And it covers off a lot of things. What we're encouraging people to do when they're updating this information, if they're retired, is to put something that best describes their previous career. So I might have been a protective sports personnel service worker. There we are. That'll do. So this occupation is required. Now this cannot be updated unless there is a mobile phone and email address supplied. So you can't update this personal information unless there are key details provided. Alex, have I missed anything with this data capture?
Just with the address as well, if your address doesn't come up in the pre-populated list, yeah, as Nick's demonstrating there, just clicking the blue button, you can manually type your addresses.
Yep, so that's a good point as well. And we know that there are members who, particularly down my way and in some of the regional areas of New South Wales, might not have a street address. They might have a property name, and so you could enter your address manually as being, Lakeview Station or something like that. Your local post service knows who it's going to, but for the system, it might not be a specific address. So just something to consider with the data capture. This has now been made mandatory, and as I say, for all those benefits that we've provided. Members cannot access BowlsLink without a email address linked to their profile, so that's absolutely required, and now the email address and mobile phone number are compulsory. When you're entering a new member now as well, so we're going to add a new member, and Alex, you're going to get signed up to Jindabyne. We can see here that an email address is compulsory. Alex@yahoo.com. Oh, it's doing that thing again, isn't it? Alex R and something like that. The date of birth is compulsory. 5th of May, 1955. The gender is not, but if there is no gender that has been provided, that may impact eligibility, and then the occupation is compulsory as well. We can assign members a default password here, and if you're signing up somebody at the club with you, you can give that to them at this point. Once again, here we've got that address, so we need to make sure that the address gets entered here. So doesn't matter whether it's a new member or an existing member, these compulsory data fields are now mandatory. So that's kind of all on the updates to data capture. What I'm going to go through and sort of demonstrate now, though, is why some of this data capture is really, really valuable with email campaigns. So BowlsLink can send email campaigns to all members of your club who have an email address linked to their profile, which now should be everyone. Communications can go out to all members, or you can target specific segments or competitions. So if you're running a tournament, you can send an email to everybody who's entered your tournament. If you're running a championship, all the members who are playing in your club's major singles can get that communication, and anyone who's not won't need to. Otherwise, you can be sending out emails to your entire club cohort. These emails are pretty good. They can contain graphics, links, countdown timers, much, much more. So I'm now going to show you some examples of email campaigns that I have selected from a few different clubs and regions So this first one comes from Metro Southeast. So if you're a member of Metro Southeast, this won't be unfamiliar to you. This is their February newsletter, and here's our pennant competitions. Here's the link to the BowlsLink results, junior bowls updates, calendar updates, inter-region events. Here's our side for the inter-region. They did very well. They were runners-up in the Open Men's. Here's their veterans side. There's some umpires education courses, coaches. Here's our management committee. More information. They've got a lot of information that goes out through their monthly email campaigns. They don't need to be that regular though. Here's one that I've done for Jindabyne, which is the February members update. And we've got our Club Triples nominations were open. Enter online via BowlsLink or via the app or on the notice board at the club. So some information. There's a button link which takes people to enter the BowlsLink competition. Information around the major singles final. I lost that one, so don't read into that too much. And some information around our pennant team. So we can be sending information out around competition nominations, which is really important. Help drive your nominations. You can be sending information out that is sort of more general in nature, like a newsletter, or this one here. This has been sent to all the participants. Very difficult. Of our Women's Carnival. So this is sent from Bowls New South Wales. So it's got our logo at the top. Heading, we can have graphics. Here's your information. Find my draw. The sponsors. There's some shirts for sale. If you've got team changes, what to do. More information. The one thing that you can't do is have attachments. The attachments need to be linked like this. So in this more information section, this actually takes you to an online file, which has got the advice for competing players at the Women's Carnival. So that's just something to be aware of. But the reason that there is no attachments available is because it does cause issues with spam filters and junk mail and the like. So now I'm going to show you in the BowlsLink system, which I've just closed. That's a very silly thing to do. Stand by. How to very quickly create a email campaign. So we're back. So these I use very regularly at Jindabyne, and when you come in there'll be an option to create a campaign. And you might call it my first campaign or something like that. We can have our subject line, which defaults to being the name of the email that we're creating, but you can often give it a title that has some more punch or more likely to get some more click-throughs. So if we said it was free beer tonight, that's very likely to get a few people to say, oh, how's that going to work? As our subject. We've got a reply to email address there, so it comes back to me. And then here, who are we sending this to? So we've got our BowlsLink membership, or we can select things like our club championships. So anybody who's playing in the triple. So we've got a couple of different groups there that we can choose from. Then when we're designing an email, I just reuse the previous email. So you can see here I've done them quite a lot, but I've got a really consistent template. It's got the club's logo, it's got a standard image, and then the body text. When you're creating one though, you'd be starting from scratch and you can use a template. Now there's these BowlsLink official ones which were fine 6 or 7 years ago when BowlsLink started, but we've now got these themes, and from this you can sort of create one that you can personalize, and that is how you like to to build your emails. The music event one is the one that I use for my template. And you can see here that it's fairly customizable. So you can put a logo in at the top, listen to the, have a heading, have a button there that clicks off to somewhere else. We can throw in a countdown time, which helps as a call to action, some imagery, links to all our social media, and some further information at the bottom. So I suppose my strongest encouragement for everyone is to jump in and have a go, give it a crack. When you jump in for the very first time to an email campaign, it will ask you to request an admin account. That's just a standard process. You can click on that and it'll just take you a moment and you'll go through to that next window. But some of the benefits of email campaigns we're talking about is flattening our communication structure. It's one of the best ways that we can connect with our audience in Bowls. Rather than the secretary might have to place a notice on the board, a flyer on the notice board, and then you've got to go to the club and see the flyer and write your name down, or call the club and say, can you put my name down? Doing it this way, we can connect directly with all of our membership straight into their inbox. So it's a great reason to capture that data and capture it accurately so we can connect with our members, maximise our competition nominations, and flatten that communication structure so you as an administrator are talking directly to your members, your participants. Alex, has there been any questions come through on the chat about email campaigns?
No, nothing on the chat regarding the email campaigns. I was going to just drop in, I believe you guys have some guides on your website, on your support portal, just to drop that in the chat as well, in case anyone had any queries.
Yeah, so as always, there's a lot of great stuff on the Bowls New South Wales website, and I'll share all that at the end and as part of the emails that go out to everybody. But I think just on the we've had data capture. Email campaigns are just a fantastic way that we can connect directly with all of our members, and it's something that's once it's set up, it's very, very easy to maintain and continue with. The next thing I want to touch on is member transfers. Now, this is kind of a refresher, I suppose, for a lot of our administrators here. Most have got very good at this, but the member transfers has undergone a very slight change in this most recent update, which is at the bottom of the page here. So where there used to be invite and transfer, that wording was a little bit confusing for some administrators. So now the wording is invite only and transfer. Members can be members of as many clubs as they wish. And so if I wanted to be a member of Bellbird Bowling Club and South Tamworth and Jindabyne, I'm just looking at some friends who are on the screen here, I can be, but we need my primary club designation to only be at one club. So if you've got members joining your club as a secondary club, or they don't want your club to be primary, invite only is what we're using. There is no transfer fee applicable to invite only. It's only when members' primary club affiliations are changing. When we're doing that, then we'd be using the transfer button. I suppose it's a reminder here, all parties need to be given an opportunity to approve or reject a member transfer. Members can be selected incorrectly from the system. We've had plenty of instances of that happening. There's a lot of J Smiths in the system, and if J Smith is transferring from Jindabyne to Maitland City, you may get the wrong J Smith. So that's one reason the club, the state, or the member may reject that transfer. The other reasons commonly that transfers are to be rejected is that the player is under either a disciplinary or financial suspension or appeals process. And if your club has one of those going on, you are entitled to reject that transfer at the time that it has been initiated. The final one is often that there is other states where members are allowed to play in certain competitions when they're not primary members, and members may be asked to transfer their primary club affiliation to Queensland, for example, when it's not always required, or the ACT. So in that instance you can reject. But get in touch with me if you've got any questions. It's always better to speak with me than to guess and to guess wrong. Bowls New South Wales require the payment of the online clearance form before approval is granted. Now, this clearance payment is there for a number of reasons. Bowls New South Wales do provide oversight to any transfers which assist with eligibility. While eligibility for events is still the members' responsibility to ensure that they aren't entering in events twice, Bowls New South Wales can provide oversight when members are transferring, particularly between states, if they are current winners or if they are under any suspension. The other reason that there's a transfer fee applicable is that it prevents frivolous back and forth, cynical back and forth transfers. So that's there for a reason. The transfer fee is $25 per member per transfer, and it's when their primary club affiliation changes. So just be aware that that is something that needs to happen before Bowls New South Wales approval is granted. We do send out reminders that this process is not built into BowlsLink because there is different processes nationally. And I'll show you that form presently. The other reminder is that administrators must accept the transfers in the BowlsLink system. You will get an email, the members get an email, and you as an administrator get an email on behalf of the member where you can accept a transfer on their behalf. This is a legacy item from the early days of the BowlsLink system, where the data capture wasn't as good as it is now, and that the members wouldn't be able to accept the transfer on their own behalf. So administrators were accepting quite regularly. That does not mean that your club has accepted that transfer. It means that you're only accepting it on behalf of the member. And the other thing is that there is a different process for members who are returning to your club. So we're going to go through these now in BowlsLink. So we're going to go to Jindabyne again, and we're going to do it for a member joining your club for the first time. We click Add Member, Existing Member, and I've got the national identity number of my colleague Dean here, who many of you may have dealt with at Bowls New South Wales. So if I do click here and transfer, this will initiate a transfer for Dean Hodges. So what happens is an invitation gets sent to Dean, as well as the representatives of his club. Once he has been accepted, he will show up in the Jindabyne membership listing. So that will go to the administrator, and it will go to the individual member, and then everybody needs to approve. So I'll just show you what that email looks like. So here we are. This is the email that club administrators receive. As an administrator of Sylvania Bowling Club, you were notified that Dean Hodges has been asked to do this. To accept on Dean's behalf, click the link below. So this is where I say that people get confused, because they are clicking accept invitation and assuming that this is accepting it for their club. So I've now accepted that transfer on behalf of Sylvania. But when I look at the transfers here, we can see that Dean Hodges has accepted the transfer, Jindabyne has accepted the transfer, but Sylvania has not, and Bowls New South Wales have not. So just something to be aware of as an administrator, that you must accept the transfer in your BowlsLink system. And if I go into Sylvania, if I know how to spell Sylvania Bowls, we can see here that they can say approve or reject. So in this instance, Sylvania will be rejecting that transfer because it was a test transfer, and you can give a reason. So that's now been cleared out of the system. Bowls New South Wales, we have oversight of any pending transfers and any approvals in the state. This number was sitting close to 300 at the middle of last year. We've made a real effort to speak with all the clubs who have pending transfers, and we've now got this list down to 59. It did drop under 50 very briefly, but anybody who's got a pending transfer will show up here, and Bowls New South Wales will be communicating with these clubs just to remind them of their obligations to approve transfers and potentially to pay the transfer fee. The transfer form can be found on the Bowls New South Wales website. So we have our resources page, and in administration and forms here, there is the clearance or transfer form. Now this is a live form, so you can fill in all of these details, and we're going to be transferring Alex from Ballina to Jindabyne. X marks the spot. Put in your details. What club are you from? I tick that box, and I'm paying $25 for the transfer. So once we submit, it will show you a preview of that document. It will ask you to sign that digitally, and then it will take you to the checkout page, so you can pay here with your preferred credit card, which I have blanked out all of my details so you don't go pinching things. As soon as you click pay and that money has hit the Bowls New South Wales account, we receive a notification, and from there the transfer can be approved. It is a slightly more complex and convoluted process than I'd prefer it to be. However, this is functioning well, and it is serving our sport well enough for the moment. Alex, is there any commentary in there? Any questions that I can answer around the transfers?
There was a question about, I think this may be regarding club transfers. Transfers being eligible to play for club championships only at one club.
Yep, so that's correct. So the Bowls New South Wales conditions of play, which is on our website, is the best resource for you to read up on that. The basic, the short version is that each member must have a primary club designation, and that is what is defined with this transfer process. So we can see Dean Hodges here is not a primary member of Jindabyne because it's not in the bold text. Those that are in bold are primary club members of Jindabyne. So you can only play in pennant and state championships that lead to national events as a primary club member. So Bowls New South Wales events and your major club championships. There are clubs that may choose to run events where they have other membership types available. You can see here at Jindabyne, Eddie Hogan, who's a social member. We allow them to play in some of our minor events at our club, but that's at your discretion at your club, and the COP documents will help guide that decision making. But if you've got any questions, you may get in touch with me via the details I have provided. The final thing I wanted to show you was if you've got a member who is returning to your club, it is a different process, because if we now go to add an existing member, and let's get him by name, the great Lee Stinson, and we can see here Lee Stinson is a member of Warilla. If I go to transfer him, it will come up with an error and say, hang on, Lee's already a member of Jindabyne Bowling Club. Lee's registration is currently archived. So the error message tells you what we've done wrong. And so if I go into my archive list, I can see, aha, here's Lee Stinson. I want him to come back to our club. I'm going to unarchive that member. And now we can see that Lee Stinson is in our active member list. Into his member profile. And there is a request transfer button in the top right. This is deliberately done differently because the intent of the system is that the member will be requesting it themselves. What we're seeing in practice, though, is that the club administrator is the one who's typically responsible for this. So that's where to go for that. So you can click request transfer, and once you click confirm, that will go through the same approvals as I've demonstrated before. Having said that, Lee's staying at Warilla, unfortunately. I could use him at Jindabyne this year. However, the big contract at Warilla is too good. So I suppose this is just a general reminder for everybody. We had over 100 registrations for this, and I'm trusted everyone will go away with, if nothing else, a better understanding of the transfer process as is required in New South Wales. The final thing I wanted to touch on tonight, before when we should have a little bit of time to go through the Q&A at the end there, is just memberships in general. Now, with these mandatory data changes, there have been some benefits, particularly if the clubs are going to use the system fully as intended. So BowlsLink can take online payments now for your memberships. This is a very new function. It only came out in October last year, and so far the take-up is fairly low because not a lot of clubs have had their end of financial year yet. What we can see with this, though, is reduced administrative burden. Members are able to pay remotely. They can pay via their BowlsLink profile. And Alex, am I correct in the app release on later this month, they'll be able to pay through the BowlsLink app?
Yes. I know Aaron is working with his club to work it via a sign-up, integrating the QR codes for that as well.
Yep.
I think as you've got it outlined there.
Yeah, so that's the other part. So for existing members, you can pay your membership through the BowlsLink app. There are online sign-ups for new members via QR code, so there's greater automation. The other thing that you can do with your payments is that clubs can set disbursement periods. So under the previous payment provider, it was monthly. Under this new payment provider, this is potentially multiple times a week if you so choose. So we've been able to take payments for competitions for quite some time, but for memberships, and with a lot of clubs' end of financial year coming up at the end of June, this is something that is an option that I've been discussing with some big clubs and some little clubs to reduce their overall administrative burden. So before I get on to my reminders for all administrators, I'm just going to do a quick demo on that. So here at my club, so we've got our end of financial year at the 30th of June 2026. That's all great. And I'm going to just do it for myself. I'm going to add my membership for next year. Now, at my club, we've got a couple of different membership packages. One has got a little star next to it. That's for the membership that's paid in the club. My advice is to choose whether or not you're going to ask all your members to pay online or none of them. I think having it split 50-50 is too difficult. So I'm going to go for the top where it's paid online. And the start date of that membership will be the first day of the new membership year, which will be the 1st of July. I get a little warning saying that this membership is more than 30 days in the future. That's fine. I'm going to add that membership to myself for the next financial year. Now, when I look as an administrator, I can see here that I currently have membership for this current financial year. That's been paid. But then for next financial year, with the start date of the 1st of July, the status there is pending payment. What I've done at my club and what I'm encouraging clubs to consider is that there's in the integration section of BowlsLink, where you may never have gone to, there's this thing that it says pin payments. And this is our payment provider. You need to furnish them with some information, some compulsory information under the federal government's Know Your Customer and Anti-Money Laundering information. But once that's set up, you've got an online portal where you can see all your payments, and they can be dispersed into your nominated bank account at a frequency that you specify. In the finances area, in the fees, I've created different fee packages. So I've got the full bowling membership, which is $80 at my club. And what that is linked to is the full bowling membership type. And that's the one that I've selected for myself here, which has fees attached to it. The one with the star was the one where it's paid at the club. As I say, I'm really encouraging clubs, you either go all in on this or not at all. But what you can do then is members will be able to log in. So this is my personal BowlsLink profile. They can log into their account section, and I can see there that the balance due is $80. I can pay that here in the BowlsLink system via a credit card, and I can put in all my details, which I won't do today. But what that means is that the members can be given that responsibility for their own payment. Once I have paid, that in the system will show as my membership is paid, and then my membership will become active on the 1st of July. So just something to consider for clubs. If you're going to do it, my recommendation is that you do it for every single member. And if members do come into your club and pay either over the bar, or they pay in cash, or all the different ways that we know that people like to pay for things, you can still go into that person's membership profile, click on the membership tab, and pay the invoice, mark the invoices paid in the BowlsLink system. So they can provide a credit card for you, but you can take cash, check, direct deposit as an administrator. So you can mark that as a paid invoice in your BowlsLink system, and you can be ticking members off one by one. So something to consider. I'm going to host another webinar more specifically on this topic, or at least have a video. But there are some big clubs that are looking at doing this. Tuggeranong Vikings I worked with in the ACT, they were one that were really enthusiastic about this because it really cuts down on your administrative burden. Castle Hill Bowling Club in Sydney is another that's looking at doing this, who are a big club, and they can see the benefits that it takes away from their volunteers and their club staff in chasing people for payment. You can send your members an email saying you can now pay this via BowlsLink, via the BowlsLink app. And I'll show you, once the app update comes later this month, I'll provide more information around how that can be achieved. But it's just something that I strongly encourage every club administrator to consider. What I don't encourage, what I require for all our club administrators, is to be conscious of the end of your financial year. Most clubs in New South Wales have a 30 June financial year end. And what that means is on the 1st of July, if that member goes to enter a competition, it will say, no, you're ineligible. If you go to put them into a pennant team, no, you're ineligible. We've given as a sport our members typically 1 month's grace to pay your fees and all this sort of thing. If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but your financial year end therefore needs to be the end of July, not the end of June. The date that is in BowlsLink is a hard date. It is the final day of which your membership is valid. After that date, your membership is no longer valid. So if you need to change your membership date in BowlsLink, let me know, we can do that. But better than that, we need to be managing the expectations of our members. For those that have paid in advance, and we can definitely be taking memberships in advance if we're an administrator of a club, so Ben Beattie and Paul Bradshaw and Jeff Brown all came in and they paid their membership for Jindabyne for next year already. We can see their current membership ends on the 30th of June. That means the membership for the next financial year starts on the 1st of July. If we click add, we can now see that these members' financial two dates are now 30th of June 2027, 2027 and 2027. And it's done that because they've now got sequential or consecutive membership periods. So we can see here for Ben Beattie, his membership expires on the 30th of June, and then the new one starts on the 1st of July. It'll pick up memberships that are sequential, and therefore it will show you on your home screen who is paid up and who isn't paid up. And we can update those members as they pay. What can happen with clubs if you're not aware of this, and I'm not bagging on anybody, but I saw one today, Turramurra, to where I used to go and play when I was in Sydney. Their financial year ended on the 31st of March. It's now the 1st of April. you can see all their members don't have a little dot there, and they're not a current financial member, therefore they're not eligible to be entered into any teams to play in any region or state or national competitions currently. So as administrators, we need to be aware of our end of financial year, what the process is to be updating our members, and what that looks like. I suppose one final thing is that if you so choose, and you can do this if you're an administrator, there is a button here that you can click that selects every single person in your club. You can add membership to them, and they're going to be a full bowling member that starts today. And if you click add, that just updates everybody. It's then your responsibility to go and chase them for money. BowlsLink only records whether or not you have received payment. How you get that payment from the members, or how you determine who is financial and who is unfinancial, is at the discretion of your club. Alex, how are we going with any questions there, mate? Anything coming in?
No, nothing recently from the chat. I just with the payments in the finances area, there is now a way you can manually check and update if payments have been made. There's I think it says refresh payment, I believe, in the finances area.
Yep. Good chat. Finances in the invoice section here.
Yes. So
yeah, so we're seeing here that's outstanding. That might not be in yet.
If you click on the actual invoice itself, yeah, check for payments.
Check for payments. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so that check for payments is effectively a refresh. And so if a member has paid and the system hasn't updated because it doesn't do everything immediately, instantly live, just to reduce the amount of data, that will then come through once you hit that little refresh option there. Thanks, Alex. That's a good one that I wasn't aware of. Now, the final part of my sermon this evening is just some general reminders to all administrators. BowlsLink determines financial and competition playing rights. So eligibility is determined via BowlsLink for competition eligibility, whether members are financial, and what their primary club is. So we can see once again in Jindabyne here that Dean Hodges is not a financial member of Jindabyne. He is not a primary club member of Jindabyne, therefore he is not eligible to play for Jindabyne. We can see here that Eddie Hogan is a financial member of Jindabyne, however he's got a social membership category, therefore he would not be able to play in state championships in pennant events. We can see that Matt Hughes, everything is green, he's all good to go. So those things are determined via BowlsLink: competition, financial, and primary club. BowlsLink does not provide eligibility checks for pennant because of how complex the grading system is and how robust it is. Each region, each grade, each number of games required to be graded, it does not determine eligibility for your pennant competitions currently. Just a reminder too, for memberships in advance, this is really important that you as administrators are talking with your club and your members about how you're going to be getting that information out to ensure that your members have continuous and continued access to our sport. So make sure that you're getting that out in plenty of time before the end of your financial year, reminders to your members to get in to pay to make sure that they're eligible. And the last one is when to archive members. So we can see here in my club that Dean Hodges, who I did a sort of a dummy transfer, he's in our list. He's got nothing to do with Jindabyne. He hasn't paid a membership. He can be archived. Confirm. We can see here that Jindabyne as well, we also have some members who have different categories here. Tom Condon, who's a business bowls member. That's fine. He plays in our Wednesday Business Bowls competition. That's okay. Mick Hamilton, who's a social member, he's in there. He's okay. The system can capture more than our playing competition members. It can capture our barefoot, our experiences, those that are more casual users of the sport. Put those in your list. I absolutely encourage it. It means that you can communicate with them as a club via the email campaigns. It means we as a sport can communicate and influence their decisions. We can also see here that we've got some people in our club Stuart Rigg, who many of you may have seen at the Inter-region, and Brett Ryland, both of whom are considered non-bowling members because they have transferred in the recent past to a different club, but they have still paid their membership at Jindabyne. They are still financial members. They are still bowling financial members of Jindabyne. However, because their primary club is elsewhere, we don't allow them to participate in our competitions. So you can see that they've been given a non-playing membership type. And that's totally fine. You may have people like that in your club who have non-playing roles, who might be administrators, who might be pennant managers, who might be markers or umpires, those that still sit on the executive but no longer have active playing roles. You can create membership types that will fit those, keep those people in your system. You can still communicate with them. We as a sport can still communicate with them. It's fantastic. Otherwise, Michael Swinney has moved away but is still a full bowling member, and he hasn't given no indication he's looking to change his primary club, so he's a full bowling member until the 30th of June. We don't need to be archiving these people immediately, the moment that they leave our club. Nor do we need to be archiving them the moment it gets to the 1st of July, or in the case of Taramara Bowling Club, all of these members are unfinancial. Therefore, we'll go through and archive a lot of them. I cannot stress this enough. Keep them in your system, keep them in your list until they have indicated that they don't want to be part of your club and they don't want to be part of your club anymore. Give them that 1 month's grace where they can't enter anything because they haven't paid up, but you can still communicate with them. Give them that 2 months grace, whatever it might be. Keep the people in the system for as long as you can. The worst thing that we see in the sport is on the 1st of July every year is that 3,000 members get archived and then they start to filter back in August and September. There's 2 months that you're not communicating with them, there's 2 months that we're not communicating with them. If you think that they're going to come back and continue to play the sport, keep them in the system. The only other time that members should be archived if they have a current or an active profile is if they have if they've passed away, and that's always a very sad thing that happens. But again, BowlsLink has some instructions for this on the website, and so you can archive a member by clicking the archive button there, and what that does is it takes them off any mailing lists and it gets them out of the system. The worst thing to do, particularly for members who may have had shared access to inboxes and the like, is to continue to get emails saying, come and play in this event, or hi, Lee, we want you to come and play in this after I've passed away. It can be traumatic. It's something that I experienced when I was an administrator in the ACT. So that's just probably the last thing to consider is when to archive members. Alex, we don't have as much time as I'd hoped, but is there any questions that I can answer for anybody in the chat that are looking juicy?
No, unless I haven't got a prompt since about 6:05, unless there have been, and I just haven't seen them come through. Everything looks up to date.
Beauty. The only one that I've seen that come through is can there be a text message service? That is rather than email. There is some development. It's in the development priorities list to have both push notifications through the BowlsLink app as well as text messaging. The challenge with text messaging is cost, and that's a challenging one to manage. There are some services available that can do that at the moment, but they're not included with the current BowlsLink package. The final reminder is that there is support available. Again, take down my details, take down my telephone number. Aaron and Alex with Bowls Australia are fantastic. Brett and Sam, who are with Bowls Australia as club support managers, are brilliant. They're all here for you. And one of our board directors is sending me very silly messages about questions which I shan't respond to, DJ. But lovely to have your engagement till the end. The final reminder is that on the Bowls New South Wales website, there's a couple of ways to get to it. There's a dedicated BowlsLink support page, which has a lot of support for club and region administrators. There's a request form to get access as an admin, but there's step-by-step guides for all of the common processes in the system, including how to edit your details, how to enter Bowls New South Wales competitions. You can copy those and share those with your members. It shows you where to click, how to enter the competition, what position to play. There is pennant guides. There is guides for club administrators in terms of managing their membership list and how to build competitions. So there's a lot online, and I just encourage everybody to reach out to anybody who's on this list here, your region BowlsLink delegates, or to or to me. So for those who've been able to get here, thank you so much. It's been great to spend some time with our administrators this evening. Alex, is there any final words from you, mate?
No, just that, I guess, just echoing what you've said. The support is always there from the Bowls Australia side, or obviously Nick and the CSMs. It's got a great knowledge, having been around for a significant amount of time. So I do recommend, if there are any queries, Nick's a great resource. I've been around for about a year or so. I've still got some, so he's definitely a good option. Aaron as well. The more from the top, the more data that we have, the better we can help clubs identify opportunities, to grow them through social bowls or competition. So it is key that we get all those details in order. And it might not sound as though it is an assistance. It helps greatly for grants and anything in between. So keep plugging away, and any needs that you guys have, by all means, let us all know.
Beauty. Thanks, Alex. And look, thanks to everybody who's joined us this evening. For those who couldn't make the entire session or who'd like to watch back again, this session will be made available on the Bowls New South Wales YouTube channel and the website tomorrow, assuming our media team can keep up with all the action from the Champions. But from me, thank you all for joining us, and it's over and out. Look forward to catching up with everybody when we cross paths again in the future. Cheers.